Good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming. It's the director's duty to actually report first on our, oh, I think on our deceased members, and this past year, we lost 3 individuals who were very close to the AVSO. One of them was Bruce Kobusek from Farmington, New York. Bruce was very active actually at the Charging Valley Astronomical Society. He was an astrophotographer. You will see his pretty pictures everywhere. He was a solar and planetary observer, but he was mostly, for the AVSO observations, he was mostly a Cepheid or visual observer. The second person was Alison Duan, and for those of you who don't know Alison, she was not an AVSO member, but she was a longtime curator of the Harvard archive. She was the one who would show you the Harvard plates, all the hard work that was done at the Harvard Observatory at the beginning of last century, show you the logs and the works of the women calculator there and of Pickering's results, etc. And she actually passed away out of ALS. We lost her really very suddenly. It was sort of a shock. And the third person was Tex Moon. Tex has been a long time observer and good friend of the AVA. So he used to come to our meetings very regularly. He used to go to the SAS meetings, very eager to know what's happening, connect with us, connect with members. He had more than 10,000 PEP observations under his name. Sometime in the spring, he actually sent me an email telling me that he had cancer and he was planning to stop observing and actually work on educating high school students in his area and help them understand what variable stars are and how they can actually observe variable stars. It was really heartbreaking to hear that he passed away. And of course, we all know that we lost Stephen Hawking this year. We know Stephen Hawking very well, and we also know his uphill battle with an illness. I'll just leave a quote from him here. Look up at the stars and not down at your feet. Try to make sense of what you see and wonder about what makes the universe exist. Be curious. And we connect with all of this. So at this point, I would like to ask you to stand up in a moment of silence, honoring their memory and their contribution. With that, I would like to remind you why we're doing what we're doing. We are a not-for-profit, but we are driven by our mission. The mission of the AVSO is to enable anyone, anywhere, to participate in scientific discovery through variable star astronomy. And we need to understand what gets into it. What does that mean? That means enable. We provide the necessary resources for individuals to actually be part of the AVSO and be part of what we are doing, no matter what their professional aspirations are, no matter what their training is. Anyone, equal opportunities for all. We don't and we shouldn't care what your socioeconomic background is. We shouldn't care what your accent is, whether it's better or worse than mine. You're very welcome to join the AVSO and be part of the organization. Not only that, you should be able to access our resources no matter where you are. In principle, we don't really care if you're at the top of a mountain or down on an island. And my favorite word, participate. Be an active member of this collaboration that is called AVSO. Acquire data, analyze data, try to understand data, discuss data, be a member. So our pledge to our community is actually also reflected in our policies here. The AVSO is a discrimination, harassment-free environment. We pledge to make it a respectful place for anyone to actually discuss their interests in variable stars, learn as much as they can, acquire data, be involved in projects, analyze data, anything and everything that, that we have, being open to everyone. And not only that, this is actually a page of our policies. You can read them online. They're here. The latest one that we announced had to do with the European Union General Data Protection Regulation, which was just announced. Actually, this GDPR policy simply replaced an older directive that was in place in 1995 and pretty much tells how companies can share data of their constituents, of their customers amongst the community. The AVSO always shared personal data of their observers only to give credit. So for example, when you're submitting data in our database, your observer code is attached to your data point so that you can actually get authorship or credit in your data. That's the only thing we're doing. We're not sharing personal information. We definitely don't keep financial information, but we don't share it with any third parties. Plus, we make sure that our data is being used only for research purposes. Now, having said that, I have no idea how else one would use a light curve, but it doesn't really matter. It's actually, the sky is not the limit, as we know, right? So with that, I would like to introduce to you my colleagues, the team that we have at the AVSO headquarters that make everything run. They work from science, data quality control, operations, anything. They're the people who are continuously in collaboration, in contact with you when you're asking questions, when you need help, when you're actually giving us feedback. And I would like to start with the science team that is led by Bert Pablo. Where's Bert? Do I have everyone here? Please stand up. Stand up. Bert, our new astronomer who's been with us for a year now, and he's still with us. He's not running out crying, screaming. We have Elizabeth Wogan. Elizabeth. Ooh, there we are. You know Elizabeth for decades. She's been a very valuable employee. She's the one who's actually checking data, working on our publications, journals, reports, etc. Sarah Beck. Where's Sarah? When it breaks, she fixes it. When it comes to our software, she's actually working on data quality control again and light curves. Sebastian Otero, who could not be here, VSX, the mentoring program, he's in charge of that. And not only that, we have a lot of fun with Sebastian discussing science. Kathy Spirer and Owen Took. I'm going to bundle those two because, oh my goodness, they're a team and they're a fantastic team. They keep us running. Without Kathy and Owen, we wouldn't be here to begin with, meetings, right? But all aspects of operations, anything you can imagine, is because of Kathy and Owen's hard work. And Mike Saladiga, who is close to retirement. He doesn't want to retire yet, but he's working on our journals and publications. So can I have all my staff standing up, please? And can we thank them for the contribution above and beyond? Thank you. Not only that, though, there is a huge team of volunteers who work with us at headquarters. And we know all of them either by email or in person, so I would like to acknowledge those as well. There are about 150 individuals, so they would really fill the screen with tiny little letters that no one would be able to read. Instead, I would like to just tell you how we work with them. I have to remind you, council and committees consist of volunteers. These are individuals who give us their expertise, their professional credential, etc., to actually run the organization. This is the leadership of the AVSO. VSX team, other than Sebastian, we have volunteers working on it, observing sections, charts and sequences, data validation, mentoring program, choice course instructors, software development, AVSO net. And by the way, there's a very nice poster here about the Bright Star Monitor and the new observing section. Please take a look at it. The team is here. Can I have the AVSONet team please stand up? And the chair, Mike Nicholas, is here. So ask him all the tough questions. Don't ask me. Thank you. And then our archive, data digitization, making sure that our light curves are as complete as possible. Newsletter, contributing authors, egg card projects, translators. I'm pretty sure I'm missing some. So thank you all, our community, for being with and behind the AVSO and making everything happen. We wouldn't be able to do all those things without you. So with that, I would like to migrate to the director's report. This is an outline. I'm going to talk about the AVSO progress report, the health check, more or less, on how we're doing when it comes to members and data. I'm going to present a little bit of research highlights. I want to brag about the cool science that came out of the AVSO this past year. We're going to talk a little bit about some projects that was done at the AVSO this year and some that were completed, some in progress, upcoming meetings, and then we just closed our elections, so we will discuss election results and some observer awards. So I would like to start with our membership. Our membership, in principle, is flat. When somebody is asking me how many members we have, I tell them we have 1,100 plus or minus 100. So that is, I'm a professional astronomer. 10% error is actually expected. So that is more or less how we're doing. This is our full members with time. I'm just plotting here the last decade, and these are the new members. So pretty much you want to see how many of the old members we have, you just subtract this from that. So right now in 2018, we have 1,224 members. What is really interesting is to see where those individuals come from. Most of our membership come from the United States. So about 65% are from the US. And then we have, this is pretty much the top 10 countries where we have members from. Canada, United Kingdom, Australia, Italy, France, Germany, Spain, Belgium, Netherlands, and a 12% other. And this 12% represents 45 countries. So in principle, we have members from 55 countries. Considering that there are about 200 countries on the planet, we have membership from a quarter of the world. We will do more, but still, this is not a bad statistic. What is very interesting, though, is to see where our active observers come from. And the picture that emerges here is different. We have a 32% of our observers come from the continental United States, and we have actually some from Hawaii as well. We have observers from United Kingdom, Spain, Canada, Germany, Italy, Australia, France, Hungary, and Poland. And this is most of our members, but then we have a 26% other. So we have 952 observers from 53 different countries contributing this past year up to the end of September. And what I find more interesting is how these individuals observe. Half of them are visual observers. So we have a lot of visual observers actually still in our membership, which makes me really happy because I'm a very new visual observer myself. Remember, I didn't say I'm a good one. I said I'm a new one. We also have an increasing number of CCD observers. We have an equal amount of number of DSLR observers and sunspot observers. I love seeing individuals continuing sunspot observations and continue our index here. We have a smaller number of still PEP observers and SID observers here. So this is how our observers have been observing. This past year, we also saw an unprecedented so far increase in our observations. Until the end of September, we had more than 36 million data points from the 34 that was reported in the last annual report. And actually, we've crossed the 37 million data point this past month. We need to remember, these are not data that come out of an automated robotic survey. These are not data that have been reduced by a pipeline. These are data that each and every one of you has been acquiring and submitting in our database and checked by AVSO staff. And actually, just for fun, this is completely random. This is where the 35th and 36 million point came from. The 35th million point was acquired by Tony van Mooster in Belgium, observing BY-CAM with a CCD imager. And the 36 by Daniel James Coultier from the United States, observing assassinating EY, using again a CCD. Now, here's another interesting plot. We acquire the data. Who uses the data? Who downloads the data? And this is again by country. So I find this even more interesting than the other two, simply because it showcases that also, although the top 10 countries are US, Japan, Ukraine, UK, Australia, Sri Lanka, Poland, China, India, Brazil, there's a 50% in this other. So we're talking about 50 countries on the planet that is downloading data. So we don't have exact numbers unless if somebody who downloads data gives us information about why they're going to use them. We don't have exact information. Most of the data, though, are being downloaded either for publications, for conference presentations, posters, or for preparation of observing runs. So it's very interesting to see how the professional community and non-professional community is using that data. I would like to see more student projects. That's a different story. So with that, we're tracing when that data appears in the literature. This This is AVSO data that are being presented in refereed manuscripts. This does include some APAS data, so you can see actually there was a jump here in publication when APAS started coming out. So this at least showcases how valuable APAS is for the community in general. And with that, I would like to show you some of the highlights of those publications, some of the fun projects we have been involved in, and some of the fun projects that were completed. And I would like to start with this, because boy, that shows who the AVSO observers are and how dedicated they are. This is a nova, a recurrent nova in the Andromeda galaxy. Taking a step back, novae are considered to be good candidates for supernova 1As. And we hear this buzzword of supernova 1As nonstop. They're extremely important objects for cosmology. They're extremely important objects for the distance ladder. So at the same time, we haven't identified a progenitor. We haven't seen one of those events going kaboom. We know they come from white dwarfs when they reach 1.4 solar masses. We suspect that actually the best theories tells us that some of those white dwarfs come from semi-detached binary systems like that accrete really fast. And as they accrete really fast, from time to time have nova eruptions. When you see really dense nova eruptions, the white dwarf is increasing in mass and throwing out a small part of the accreted mass. So the white dwarf is really increasing fast. This object is really unique simply because it's the fastest recurrent nova that we know of. It has a recurrent period of 1 year. And it's usually recurrent periods are 10 years, decades to centuries. This one is the only one we know of that goes kaboom every year, and usually goes off in October. So I was at the conference in 2016. I was talking to the researchers who work on this particular project, Martin Henze and Matt Dunley. And they were telling me that their biggest challenge was to actually catch this nova in eruption, because first, it's in the Andromeda galaxy. You can't see it when it is in quiescence. And second, when it erupts, it reaches 18.5 magnitude, and it declines by 2 magnitudes in 2 nights. So either you catch it or you don't, and if you don't, you've missed it. So what they wanted was, they were wondering whether people could actually observe this object nonstop and even collect upper limits when it was in quiescence, so that they would assess whether the eruption period was indeed 1 year. Up to that time, they had 8 data points. They were showing that every single October, the thing was going off. Exactly because the eruption date was October, they were wondering whether the eruption period was actually 6 months instead of a year. So it was much faster. But you know, sometime in the spring, there's this thing that's called the sun that obscures everything. So the object was behind the sun, as the Andromeda galaxy was behind. They were like, 6 months make a big, big difference, simply because the calculated mass of the white dwarf in this one is 1.38 solar masses. Very close to Chandrasekhar limit. So this one is really ready to go kaboom. So at some point they said, well, could your observers do that? And I'm like, of course my observers can do that. So we contacted a group of observers in the northern hemisphere, because this thing is in the north, and asked a group of really educated, very sophisticated, extremely dedicated people to look at the blank part of the sky for a year in a row, just in case this thing goes off. And at some point when I was discussing this project with Matt and Martin, I'm like, what you're saying is crazy. I mean, people really want to see objects, not like blank. Everybody delivered. And not only that, in 2016, we managed to actually lock down this the recurrence period, because we had observers who were observing so close to the sun, we missed only 15 days of eruption. Not bad, isn't it? Now, the cool thing is, that doesn't. So we got the eruption of 2016. It happened a little bit later than expected. It happened at the beginning of December 2016. So every single person who participated in this alert, this campaign actually was included in the paper of that was published earlier last year. So this is what how the whole picture looks like. You have a nova that goes off every October, more or less. This is days from January 1st, here. And 2016 seemed to be peculiar. It appeared in December. So the question is, has something changed in the system? Actually, it's really exciting when things change. I mean, when they're doing the same thing. So we were wondering what would happen with 2017. And again, we sent an alert to our observers. The prediction was October. October came and went. November came and went. Here we go in December. Nothing happens. I actually was joking that there would not be a 2017 eruption at some point. And then December 31st, at 8 o'clock at night, New Year's Eve, we're getting ready to leave. We get an email from an observer in the UK saying the nova is off. Somebody needs to observe. So we notified everybody. And it was amazing, actually. It was in Europe at the time. So we managed to send an email to everyone who was actually anticipating night. So we managed to get one of the best light curves on this particular object. And it looks like that. It's up here. So, and the X-ray, at the same time, we had Swift time, we have HST time, all kinds of alerts came out on New Year's Eve. And what was amazing is that we have a really good coverage. Anyone who could observe, despite the fact that it's winter, right? And it's brutal, and it's cold, and it's New Year's Eve, for goodness sake. People need to go out and celebrate. We got a fantastic coverage. This is dedication. So this is pretty much the ATEL that came out December 31st, 2006 UT. So thank you so much to all of you. I have some of the observers here who participated in these campaigns. It's been an amazing project. You know that the 2018 eruption happened last week. Of course it has happened like last week, right? Better last week than today, by the way, because some of you are here. And I'm told that the light curve looks completely different. And I'm not allowed to say more. So to be determined. Okay, project number 2. Tabby Star. How many of you know about Tabby Star? Awesome. Everybody knows about Tabby Star. Tabby Star is this crazy object that presumably was doing nothing. It was in the Kepler field, so there was a Kepler satellite light curve. And actually, it was discovered by non-professional astronomers as a result of crowdsourcing of Kepler data, because it escaped all those pipelines, the data analysis techniques, etc., the professional astronomers had. So to begin with, this particular object would not have been known if it wasn't for individuals with no degree in astrophysics being very, very diligent, looking at every single light curve that Kepler produced. So Tabby Star is special because pretty much it was known to be a constant star. It didn't show anything interesting. So it was doing pretty much nothing for 2 years. And then one day it showed a dip. And then nothing for 2 more years. And then one day it started showing this, and it's blown up here. And what on earth is going on? And then Kepler stopped observing. It's equivalent to reading a very interesting book, right? And you get into a very critical moment, and you turn the page, and it's blank. And you're like, really? Now what? So theories that came out of that ranged from a swarm of comets that is actually falling on a star and obscures part of the light, and that's why we have irregular light curve dips, to Dyson spheres and exo life and whatever was going on. The bottom line is that Tabitha Buyajan, who was the PI of this particular project, asked our community to observe. And our community, of course, delivered. She also had Las Cumbres Observatory time, and this is her LCO light curve. We started naming dips. So here you have Elsie and Celeste, and I can't pronounce the other one, and Angkor. Here it says for you guys. But the interesting thing is that Tabby actually published a paper, the first paper out of the campaign. This paper has 176 authors, 102 of which are our observers. So anyone who submitted even one data point for this particular campaign is a co-author in this paper. Please keep observing it. We have no idea what Tabby Star is. No one's waving at us, though. It's not an alien, whatever. This past year, we also saw the first manuscript that is discussing an exoplanet discovered by a non-professional astronomer as a result of a wide field CCD data survey. This is Paul Benny. And actually, Paul was the one who notified professional astronomers for this discovery. So it's a collaboration, it goes both ways. It's not just professionals come to us, it's non-professionals going there. To talk about this, planet. This is part of the manuscript. You can see the beautiful, beautiful light curve here and all kinds of planet results here. It's a Jupiter-sized object. At the same time, this year, we also saw a very rare event being captured by some of our observers, the discovery of a super Earth through gravitational microlensing. And gravitational microlensing is very tricky because you have to be at the right time, at the right place, observing a star that is going in front of a system that is going in front of a background star and is bending its light. It's not extremely faint, but you need to know where you're looking. So once an alert goes out, people need to really observe at that time. And thanks to our observers, the event itself was captured, and there's actually a very nice paper as a result of that. And of course, our data appear in all kinds of press releases and showcasing light curves. At this point, it's expected. At this point, we consider it natural for AVSORs to do the ground-based support, whereas satellites such as Integral or Swift or Chandra, X-ray and gamma ray and radio and spectroscopy surveys are going on. Because of you, we can actually do science. So from there, I would like to shift gears a little bit and talk about what we have been doing this past year in order to support this effort and support you, our community, to do your work better. And I'd like to remind you that an organization such as the AVSO is more or less a balancing act. We are a not-for-profit, so we have very limited resources. But at the same time, as an organization, we need to showcase innovation. We need to showcase and be part of what the community wants from us. We want to make sure that our software works. We understand how you want to observe so that we can provide the training material that you need. We need to understand that we're talking to an international community, so listen to everyone. But at the same time, we need to curate what we already have in place, make sure that things work, that things are safe, and respect our long history. We're 107 years old. I know I don't look my age. So with that, we are treating pretty much everything that we do at headquarters as a project. The first step, of course, is to listen to the community. That's why I travel so much, because I want to actually reach observers. I want to actually build relationships. I want to sit down right next to them and ask, how do you observe? What is important for you? What do you need? How did you get started? I mean, people are sharing all kinds of stories with us. But then come back to headquarters and share with my colleagues and share, including council, this is what I heard, this is what I know. And when more than one person tells me something, it's a sample. We really need to actually pay attention to a couple of things. So from that, we need to determine what we need in order to improve a piece of software or database, and make sure that everything works together, because we have a specific technical requirements at the AVSO. Plan a project, manage it, find resources, assess what kind of resources we need, and actually make sure we secure them, define milestones and timelines. Okay, so we're starting a project. By that time, we should be doing blah. By that other time, we should be doing blah. Make sure we test things. So when we get to a place where a project is being completed in a satisfactory way, we gather task forces, we ask people to actually break it, and then we start a cycle of fixing and breaking. And then from there, test it on the development server, make sure it works, test it on a live server, make sure it works, deploy. Well, as you know, things don't really work the way that we planned them. Nevertheless, yeah, this is a learning process. It's interesting. Nevertheless, exactly because we have dedicated staff and we're all stubborn and we have a community that is supporting us, a community that is behind us and next to us. We are making things happen. So I would like to touch upon just basically a couple of the things that we have been working this past year. Most of those are work in progress. You're going to read more in the annual report. We have been redesigning our live and development server. And I'm not going to sit there much because Bert will actually give you a very rough update during lunchtime. So we're trying to simplify things and make them sustainable, especially moving forward, so that in 10 years from now, we won't be scratching our heads, oh my gosh, why aren't things playing together well? And how many databases we have. By the way, we have about 40 pieces of software, about 30 databases. So this is not a simple thing. We are migrating our webpage from Drupal 7 to Drupal 8. Drupal 7 will not be maintained anymore, and that was a huge challenge for us because Drupal 8 apparently is extremely different. We were not planning to touch our webpage itself. We had to redesign it simply because it was not compatible. Drupal 7 webpage was not compatible with Drupal 8. They don't play well together. We're focusing a lot on cybersecurity. This is something that you hear everywhere you are for anything that you're doing. We're trying to make anything and everything we have as secure as possible. And we're going through a very rigorous system vulnerability assessment right now to make sure that we understand what doors are being knocked. We're being hit nonstop. And this is one of the things that I don't understand from a social aspect. We are a nonprofit organization is focusing on astronomical data. But at the same time, you know, those who are trying to cause trouble are not exactly questioning things. So this is happening nonstop. So we're trying to make sure that we are secure. We realize that one of the challenges that we have at headquarters is making sure that we understand all software. And one thing that we realized that because we never gave guidelines to the volunteers and the software programmers who came and worked with us, everybody has their own mentality when they're writing code. And that is not helping, especially when individuals leave from the AVSO or leave the project because they're really very busy. And we are called to maintain it. When it breaks, we are called to fix it, etc. So we put down a developer's guide. Pretty much it provides general guidelines of how to, what kind of requirements we have for code, including what is compatible with the rest of the code that we have, our databases, how things need to communicate with each other, and please, please, please put notes on your code. At headquarters, we reorganized the archive in our library. Headquarters building maintenance, as Kathy and Owen can tell you, we've been really challenged this past year from alarm fails and having the fire department coming every day for a week at headquarters to gas leaks, so things that needed to be fixed in our building, which is one of the main assets that we have. And of course, our journal. Our journal is a discussion in progress with the editor. We have a fantastic editor, John Percy, who actually, when I started 4 years ago at the AVSO, informed me that he's planning to retire. Well, 4 years later, John Percy is the editor-in-chief. So we had a discussion with him. He really wants to step down. So we have a call for a new editor-in-chief. And of course, John is going to be with us for as long as we need him. And I'm pretty sure he will keep publishing his visual light curves in the journal. But I think we need to just give him a break at this point. So again, you're going to read more about all those things in our annual report. I'm not going to describe them in even more details. I want to actually mention just a couple of projects that we saw being completed this year. And I would like to start with VSX. As you know, VSX is the backbone of the AVSO, anything and everything that we're doing. It's a super catalog of variable star information, and actually I dare say variable of object information, because we have some AGNs that technically are not stars, they're dead stars, and we have some exoplanets, which technically are not stars, they're rocks or whatever. Mostly we have variable stars in them. And VSX has been a fantastic resource for anyone who's interested in figuring out what kind of information exists on specific variable objects. We're very fortunate to have Chris Watson, who actually wrote VSX, here with us today. So this is what we're doing with VSX, Chris. We are, right now, we're at more than 500,000 objects, 500,000 objects on VSX. We're being enriching it nonstop. So we are implementing new catalogs thanks to Sebastian Otero and Patrick Wills, who is a volunteer. So every time a new survey publishes a catalog, we put it on VSX. So we had data from Kepler K2, from SuperWASP, from Assassin, from Gaia. Um, they're coming to VSX. We also listen to the community. So we're asking individuals to tell us how we can improve it. We want to consider everything that we do at the AVSO as a work in progress, something that is evolving. And one of the things that we heard last year is that we don't have very clear guidelines for first-time submitters of information at VSX on how to submit their data. And this comes back to us because Sebastian has to interact with those individuals in details. There are differences even in the way that when we mean something, somebody interprets it in a different way. And we realized that it was our fault. We needed to provide a manual. We needed to provide details. So we gathered a task force. Dave Hinzel, Juan Luis Gonzalez Caballo, Gabriel Murawski. We've been working very close with those individuals, and of course, Sebastian and Patrick, to provide a new manual for VSX. And you can actually find it here at the very beginning when you reach VSX. It's really detailed. It has, thank you. The creator's seal of approval. Thank you, Chris. So we're introducing two different types of data submission, novice data submission or even more advanced. We have excruciating examples of every single step you need to take to submit data on VSX. We have instruction on new variable submissions for data mining. You can actually improve VSX records if you want to go to a survey such as Assassin or PanStars and find new light curves on existing objects. So we're going to give you credit for that. We also have a dedicated frequently asked questions page. Most people ask the same question. So we actually point individuals to that, and we continuously moderate the information that comes on VSX. Not that now we have the manual, no one's going to be checking anything. Please take a look at it and send us comments. This is the first version. We consider it a work in progress. But you know, if we don't know what you need, we won't improve it. As far as we're concerned, we're perfect. Does this make sense? So please take a look at the manual. We will keep uploading new versions as we go. So that's VSX. Oh, and by the way, there is a poster here. Which one? This one back here. That talks about VSX in more details and presents some new this information as well. The second thing that we did was create a site and equipment page. Thanks to George Silvis. Where's George? Who's been the brain behind this. And this was generated in order to keep an online inventory of our observers' capabilities in order for us to be able to bring you the right targets, the targets that are appropriate for you in front of you. In principle, it wouldn't make any sense for us to send a northern hemisphere target to someone who has a telescope in the south. But we wouldn't know that you have a telescope in the south. So we would like you to actually upload your information. Again, this is not shared with anyone. It's going to be on your profile, but it's for our information. You're going to find more information on the Saturn equipment page here, this poster here, and please feel free to ask George on how you can register your equipment. But one of the reasons why we do it as well is because of exoplanets. Exoplanets are becoming the new buzzword everywhere. There are lots of people who want to observe exoplanets. So we're talking with professional astronomers and we're asking them, okay, so can our community participate? And what we heard was very interesting. One thing they said is that, yeah, there are databases out there, but we don't really use the data. And we're like, okay, now we're listening. Why aren't you using the data? What's the reason? And they said that for exoplanet observation specifically, a classic light curve, as in time, brightness, and error, is not sufficient. They need more information. They need air mass information. They need to know which comparison stars are being used. They need to deconvolve the light curve, et cetera, et cetera. And we're like, oh, does this exist anywhere? And the answer was no. And we're like, okay, so we have a group of highly qualified observers to observe exoplanets, and you're telling me you're not going to use their data? So that was the reason behind building an exoplanet database for the AAVSO. You can actually access it through WebOps. It's down here. submit observations to the exoplanet database. I'm not going to get again in details on that. You find a poster here. Um, we upload the photometry file and a snapshot of the observing field. This is literally what comes out from AstroImageJ. And we download the site and equipment information. We do need to know where your equipment is because we're making corrections for timing. A snapshot of the observing field and photometry files with the light curve of the object in differential magnitudes and differential fluxes. This was designed thanks to Dennis's interaction with the community. He's the brains behind that. So please take a look at the poster and send him emails if you have any questions. So with that, it doesn't really mean that we're not contributing to tests. You heard an amazing talk yesterday from Jesse Christensen about test observations. They do have a database, but what they're asking for is pretty much verification on whether something is an eclipsing binary and or a real exoplanet transit. So they're asking for snapshot observation. Our database is meant to have legacy value. As I mentioned yesterday, it's meant to collect exoplanet transits of a group of stars that can be used for student projects or for thesis projects, for anybody's projects in 10, 20, 30 years from now. So we're talking about projects such as timing variations that would tell you something about the system, or perhaps a third body that is out there. I have no idea what the data is going to tell us, but we need to have the data first in order to actually do the analysis, right? So this is where this comes in play. Now, every time we create something like that, a new project, or even an old product at the AVSO, we don't just release it, leave it there, and let's move to the next one. What we want to know is whether this project is being used, this software is being used. Because otherwise, it's just another little thing, oh yeah, the AVSO is doing that, check and go. And this is not serving anyone. So we do have very detailed analytics on everything that we can track. And this is an example. Last year, we launched a new light curve generator for multiple reasons. So what we have been doing is actually track and trace how the community actually access that. So what you see here is unique page views for LCG1, the old light curve generator, and unique page views of LCG2. So if not anything else, this tells us at headquarters that actually LCG2 is being used by actually more than LCG1. So again, we have this kind of information, this kind of feedback for everything that we're generating. And actually everything that is being used so far, and we're providing this kind of numbers to cancel when it comes to strategic planning for the future. Now from there, of course, we keep training observers. Choice courses are being extremely useful, extremely popular. You heard yesterday about Dennis's exoplanet choice course that gets you from 0 to observe exoplanets, to data reduction with AstroImageJ. But we have some other absolutely fantastic choice courses that are being taught by you, by our community. So we offered CCD photometry part 1 and part 2, thanks to Ed Wally and Phil Sullivan. Okay, all right, so we got the CCD photometry course, I heard, and we actually get evaluations for those courses. So we do hear from the community, and that's why we want you guys to keep teaching them, because people love them. Variable star classification and light curves. Blake Corsby actually taught it twice, and we worked together with Blake to improve the course a little bit. We included videos, so he taught it again in September. Mark Blackford was offering his DSLR course, how to use VSTAR. I love VSTAR. It's so easy. Every time I work with a high school student, I point to VSTAR and they come back with the analysis. I don't even have to do anything for that. It's a fantastic tool for data reduction, data analysis, sorry. And we had a visual observing program thanks to a course, thanks to Michael Cook. So if you're interested in learning something different than what you're already doing, choice courses are really very good avenues for you. I would also like you to consider teaching one of them if you would like. So please contact me or any of the staff members if you would like to actually participate in choice course instruction. We'll really appreciate it. Now, another thing that we do is we have a very active mentoring program. And thanks to Sebastian Otero, last year we actually got more feedback on our mentors. We contacted every single individual and made sure that we understand what their needs are, where they are, their capabilities are, get some feedback about the interactions with their mentees, etc. We also had a call for new mentors, and now we have mentors, 27 mentors from 12 different countries, which is actually great because, again, we're reaching people in a language that they understand. So I'm one of the mentors, and because hashtag self-bragging, my student, I work with her, she was a high school student, I worked with her over the summer, just published her paper on JVSO, so I'm super proud of her. And in principle, I can tell you, I didn't do anything. It was all her work. Other than that, we keep translating our manuals in different languages thanks to our volunteers. We're always looking for volunteers to do those translations, simply because people understand better than native language. So we're trying to actually reach individuals where they are. We developed a solar observing guide last year, thanks to Frank Dempsey and Chris Larson, Rodney Ho, Ralph and Tom. Actually, this has been translated into 5 languages so far. Take a look at it. It's a wonderful, wonderful guide showcasing how to safely observe the sun. As Chris mentioned yesterday, don't look at the sun directly with your eyes. So we're making sure that these guidelines are spelled out in there, and we continue our solar program as we go. And of course, there are other manuals and guides that are being translated with time as people are expressing interest. For example, the PEP Observers Guide was translated in French, the Practical Guide to Exoplanet Observers in French, and we had the variable stars, why they are and why we observe them, being translated in Uzbek. Is that cool? Now, from that, I would like to transition to next meetings. Our spring meeting is going to happen with the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada in Toronto. We're trying to take our spring meetings to have them joined with sister organizations, since one of the goals of those meetings is to strengthen our ties with sister organizations, with our community, and make sure we showcase what it is that we're doing, what value we're providing for our observers, for our members, for everyone. So we're going to Toronto in the spring. And we're still talking about the fall meeting, but I would like to actually advertise 2 more conferences that are happening next year. And I'm going to be there, and I'm involved in them one way or another. One of them has to do with a spectroscopy workshop that started last year at Sacramento Mountains with a small core group of people. We're test driving where we can. At the time, you were test driving. At the time, Francois Cochard from Sheliak actually came, and he gave a very nice workshop on how to acquire and reduce data for non-professional astronomers, and he discussed a little bit about the tools. Now we're having a bigger workshop. I think we capped it at 80? 80. Because 80 individuals. Registration is going fast, so if you're interested in learning about spectroscopy, please consider coming to that. That would be interesting. And I'll be there as well, and I'll be talking about spectroscopy and the AVSO. And the other one is a 4th European Variable Star meeting that is happening in Belgium. Josh Hamsch mentioned it yesterday a little bit. It's much more easy for those from Europe to actually go somewhere in Europe. It's within driving distance. So we're hoping to see some of our members and observers there. We're going to be discussing variable stars. It's in Brussels. We're going to be eating lots of chocolate. So there, it's in September. With that, I would like to actually, I have to show this, don't I? Yes, I do. All right, so sometime at the beginning of the fall, during a staff meeting, my colleagues actually said, we're going to actually put a challenge out there for everybody. And they said that challenge will be to have 100% membership renewals by the end of the calendar year. And you know, when your colleagues tell you something like that, you just sit back, smile, and nod. You're like, okay, let's do it. So we have a challenge for our members. Call your friends, tell them that they need to renew their membership by the end of this calendar year. So far, we're down to what, 40%? We have 40% in, so we have another 60% to go. So we're going to have a couple of more calls for membership renewals. But hey, I have brains. I'm just the executor. The brains of the AVSO are at headquarters. So that's what we're doing. And you can do it at the meeting. You have a computer, you can renew right now. We have paper, actually, renewals, etc. Awesome. Um, this past year, we celebrated the 200th birthday of the first American female astronomer, Mariah Mitchell. And we had a beautiful, beautiful workshop not too long ago in her honor. But actually, that was a reason for us to take a step back, for me to take a step back and think a little bit about where we started, where we are. I want to share a quote from Mariah Mitchell. We have a hunger of the mind which asks for knowledge of all around us. And the more we gain, the more is our desire. The more we see, the more we're capable of seeing. I'm pretty sure this resonates with most of you here. It pretty much says that the more we learn, the more we grow. And this is what the AVSO is about, is we are a group of individuals who are learning together, growing together, and trying to understand some of the craziest objects in our universe, variable stars. And we do that in a collegial, respectful manner. So I would like to thank you for your contribution. I would like to thank you for being the AVSO. And at this point, I would like to stop and ask if there are any questions for me. So thank you for being you.
Did you expect this question from me, probably, huh? Could you tell me when the new AVSO logo went into play, when it came to light? Did it come recently or quite some time ago? And the second part of that question, briefly, tell us who did it.
And you have to wait 10 more minutes for that. Okay. I'm going to leave it at that. Yes, there is a story behind that. Any more questions? Please, in the microphone. Owen, can you help me, please? No, but people online cannot hear you.
Yeah, I get all kinds of fake renewal notices in the mail, probably 30 or so from different organizations which want my money. And I was just one suggestion would be to send out actual renewal notices by mail to anybody who hasn't renewed, because some people don't work with the internet that well. So it's just a suggestion.
Thank you for your suggestion. Yes, you're right. We have in our database, we do indicate whether individuals would like to be contacted by email or not. There are some who definitely opted out. So we need to make a point to send paper renewal to those who are not interested in receiving other kind of communication. Yeah, you're right. Thank you. More questions? We'll be discussing more, but yes.
Just a suggestion. I'm pretty sure I've renewed. I'm pretty positive, but I keep getting these email messages to renew. So, you know, it might be good to change the program so that they don't keep coming out. But my question is, just out of curiosity, I noticed Poland and the Ukraine in your list of countries that are members or download stuff from the AVSO. Why do you think Russia doesn't play a more prominent part, comparable to Poland or the Ukraine?
I have no idea. I really have no idea. What I presented is data, information that we gathered. It's simply interesting to see where our contributors come from, where individuals who are downloading data come from. We can't, even with this data, we can't exactly get into the why they come from specific countries. I really don't know. Russia is in the others. And by the way, actually our software in principle should not, once you renew your membership, you shouldn't be included in the list of renewal requests that we're sending. So please talk to Owen. There must be a glitch somewhere.
Just a comment to Poland. I mean, Poland has a very strong astronomical community, and Assassin and Asas is Polish origin. So I guess that's why Poland is one of the countries downloading a lot of data. I don't know about Ukraine.
Thank you. Over lunch, we will have the opportunity to discuss future directions of the AVSO and solicit your opinion as well. So this is not just the only opportunity to talk about where we're going, where we are, what we're doing. All right. So if there are any more questions, thank you again. And I would like to move to the next step of our morning program that has to do with council elections.
Okay. So there's a lot of moving pieces here, so bear with me. First, I would like to recognize the outgoing councilors who are not standing for re-election. Those are Tom Calderwood, Katrianne Kohlenberg, and Mike Joner. Mike is here. Please stand and be recognized. Can you please applaud Michael? Thank you for your service, Mike. All right. So we have the results from the election for the council members. We have a current council member who is moving up into the officer roles. So we have 5 slots for new council members. And so our 5 new council members that will be joining on council are Greg Sivikov, who was reelected, Robert Buckheim, Ken Hudson, Kevin Marvel, and Brad Vici. So can we have those people be thanked, please? I would like to give recognition to the 3 council members who will be continuing this year. That's Joyce Goodzik, Michael Cook, and Arlo Landolt. Can we have them be thanked, please, for their service? And so now I'm going to be revealing the results of the new officer slate for 2018 to 19. For treasurer, I know you're all happy about this. Bob Stevens is going to be remaining. We look forward to your next report. For secretary, Gary Walker. For second vice president, Richard Berry. First vice president, Bill Stein. And for president, Gordon Myers. Can I please have all of the 2018-19 council members and officers stand and be recognized? And I will be remaining on council for 1 more year as past president.
And at this point, we would like to thank our president, Christine Larson, for serving at the AVSO for 3 years, stepping up when we really needed her. So a round of applause for her, for her time, her passion, her mentoring, her everything. It's this is again the brains behind the AVSO. So thank you, Christine. Yes, so with that, I would like to move to acknowledging our observers, our members, and I would like, can you hear me? Yeah, and I would like to start with 2 special awards. The first one has to do with a group of individuals that I was working with this last year from Concordia University. Don't ask how. I managed to get connected with Professor Caroline Sherry, who is a professor of marketing at Concordia. And she was telling me that her students were looking for projects. And I'm like, oh, maybe they can actually start thinking of how we can market the AVSO. How are we going to present the AVSO to its whole community, its existing community, and its community in the future, those who we have reached and those we have not reached yet? How do we translate what the AVSO is about? How do we actually start this discussion and trigger interest from individuals who are kind of lukewarm about astronomy and perhaps bring them our way? We have been working for a full year, and their task was to understand the AVSO. Because remember, we're a very diverse organization. We're an international organization. We're an organization that spans all ages and all interests and all genders and everything. So they have been even studying our mission, our documents, who we are. We were having discussions. They actually contacted some of our observers, why they're at the VSO, what they value, what they like, what they don't like, where they see the future. And actually some of the questions that you see in the back are for our information as well. So please answer these little yellow sticky papers about where do you want to see the AVSO in 25 years? This is one of the questions that we were asking nonstop every time we were meeting. Good thing about technology, you can meet with those kids on Skype. So Keanu, David, Zachary, Buckhart, and Tyler Arnold are behind all the new graphics that you see here, all the logos. I was very pleased to see that the first thing they came up with when it comes to the AVSO is that we are the legacy. And like, yeah, now you get it. They're 20 years old. They talk to their friends asking about whether they've heard the AVS or what they would like to see more about an organization like that. How would they be enticed to come to the organizations? That comes back to the discussion we had yesterday. So all the new graphics that you see, the new logo that you see, all the new material comes from this discussion. So I would like to award them a special award for all the hard work, enthusiasm. They make me feel 20 again. It's amazing. All their ideas, fresh ideas and creative designs for the valuable volunteer contributions to the AVSO through their work in creating new marketing material, promoting the AVSO's work to the community. So they're not here today, but a round of applause, please, for them, for thanking them. So the second special award I would like to give today has to do with the VSX team, the team of volunteers who comprise the task force that we put together in order to work on the manual. And it's amazing. They come from all over the world. They have all kinds of experiences. They were solicited exactly because they were first-time VSX submitters a year ago, and they had to go through all the steps of submitting data to VSX and even identifying problems. Again, at headquarters, we think we're perfect. If we don't hear from you and tell us this is not working, we will not know. So this has been a fantastic collaborative effort. We're working through Google Docs. It's great when people are at different time zones because you wake up in the morning, you find the result of their work, and then you provide something for them to work on while you're sleeping. So this is David Hinzel, Juan Luis Gonzalez Caballo, Gabriel Muraski, Patrick Wills, and Sebastian Otero. And they're getting a special award for the valuable volunteer contributions to the AVSO and the Variable Star community through their work in generating the new VSX data submission manual. So let's thank them for their work. I really appreciate them. I have to admit, every time I work in a task force like that, I'm learning so much. And this is actually the fun part of these interactions. I'm growing as a person. So I'm really grateful for all of you who are contributing to those committees and task forces and who work with us and who are really very patient working with me at headquarters. So from there, I would like to move to Observer Awards. So Christine, can you help me award some of the certificates to our observers? When it comes to Variable Star Observer Awards, Elizabeth? Yes. So we had 145 individuals getting awards this fiscal year. And actually, I tried to put them all in one slide and with tiny little letters. I'm like, okay, so that doesn't help anyone. Everyone, of course, will be recognized by receiving a certificate and also in the annual report. Thank you, Elizabeth. At the same time, these are the individuals who are here, so we'll have the opportunity to give them their award in person. And I would like to start with DSLR. So we had 62 observers submitting visual observations who reached milestones this past year, 1 PEP observer who reached a milestone, 28 DSLR observers, and 54 CCD. So amongst the 28 observers, Bob Buckheim, Bob? Come here, get your award. Reached 100 DSLR data points this past year. Let's congratulate Bob. It's awesome. Great. Gregory Conrad, do we have Gregory here? 100 DSLR observations. Michael Miller. Do we have Michael here in the room? Well, Michael is not here, but let's thank him and congratulate him for 100 observations. And now we're moving to CCD observing. Luke, 400,000? Please. Gordon Myers, our next president, 400,000. Jeff Stone, where's Jeff? Come on. 500,000, 500,000. 500,000 data points. Jerry Samolik, where's Jerry? Excellent, 600,000 observations. Is it a complaint? He's complaining that he's getting one of these every year. And Josh Hamsh. Come up, Josh. 2 million data points this year. Awesome. All right. And from there, I would like to move to our, well, let's thank everybody. A round of applause for all our observers, those who reach milestones, and those who are working towards reaching milestones. It takes a lot of work, and we're very grateful for that. Without those observations, we wouldn't have a database. We wouldn't be here. So thank you all. From there, I would like to move to my favorite star, the sun, Solar Observing Awards. And we have to remember that the sun is a very tricky object to observe, not because of a technique, but you're taking one observation per clear day. This is where I can actually say you're taking an observation of a variable star during daytime. But in order to reach milestones, you really need to have acquired that observation every single clear day. So 100 observations, for example, cannot be acquired during the same day. And you don't know if it's going to be cloudy next day. So there's a lot of very hard work that goes into solar observing. So we have some of the solar observers here, and we would like to acknowledge them. We'll start with John O'Neill. Where's John? My mentor, actually. Come, John. Let's thank John. Larry Cronzel. Where's Larry? 200 solar observations. 2,000, I'm sorry. 2,000 sunspot observations. Thank you. Brian Kudnick, 5,000 solar observations. Where's Brian? All right. Thank you. And from there, I would like to migrate to a different sort of solar observing, seed observations. There are individuals who are actually monitoring sudden ionospheric disturbances. And we have 2 individuals who reached a 40 reports milestone, one of which is here. Where's Ken Menzies? Ken. Wonderful. So again, a round of applause for all our solar observers for all their hard work and dedication. You know, I was thinking the sun is a fantastic outreach object. You don't really need to have kids going in the middle of the woods, the middle of the night with a stranger in order to show them how active, how fascinating a variable star can be. Just a thought. All right, so from there, I would like to acknowledge our members. I know it takes a lot of dedication for individuals to be members at the AVSO. And because of that, everybody has a very strong opinion about the AVSO. And that is greatly appreciated. The AVSO is part of who you are. And the reason why you're here is to celebrate that. So I would like to acknowledge our members who have reached 25-year membership milestones and 50-year membership milestones. And I would like to give them their pin We have them here. So some of them actually reached more years than 25 or 50. However, they're here, so we have the opportunity to give them their pin in person. And with that, I would like to start with David Cowell. Come, Dave. 25 years AVSO member. John O'Neill. Where's John? 25 years AVSO member. Gary Walker, 26 years AVSO member. Frank Dempsey, 30 years actually, but Frank, come get your 25-year pin. And Liu Cook, 45 years. So I was debating on whether I should give you your 50-year pin and your 25 together, but may as well just give you your 25 now. Not yet. Well, I was going to wait for 5 more years. All right, so let's go. Also, my good friend Virginia Trimble, she is completing 25 years as a member. I'm going to see her next week and give her her pin. So while we're celebrating her 75th birthday, so there. So we have one individual who has been a member for more than 50 years, and this is Richard Stanton. Can I have Richard here, please? Yes. This is your 50-year pin. Thank you so much. You've been an amazing friend of the AVSO. Fantastic. So I know. So when you walk around and you talk to individuals, you see many people who are proudly wearing their pins. So I would like to see all of you who have your 25 or 50-year pins just standing up and being acknowledged here. Please stand up, please. With that, let's have another round of applause. We can't thank people enough, please, for all of our observers, special awards, members, and anyone in this room and out and online and outside the room who's contributing to the AVSO.
And I forgot one thing in all the excitement of the new elections. I forgot to thank the nominating committee, and I want to do that. The chair was Barbara Harris, and the members were Jeff Clayton and Dave Kowal. Dave, please be recognized for your work on the nominating committee. Thank you very much for serving.